The conductor arrived early the next morning. The spotlight was still on. He thought his lighting technician had simply fallen asleep after a long night. Then he stepped onto the stage. The body was sitting among the chairs, and its face had been turned apart. The strange part wasn't how he died. The strange part was what happened the night before. I wrote a horror story. A couple of months ago, I was asked to write a script for a short film. I decided to set it on one of the most mysterious places in my hometown, the Philharmonic. I've always loved that building. On summer evenings, I sometimes climb up to the roof just to watch the sunset. It's old, beautiful, and full of character. I like to call places like that beautiful decay, buildings that carry the weight of a history but still have a soul. A friend of mine works there as a conductor, so every now and then I sneak into his rehearsals. There's something special about the place. Time seems to move a little slower inside those walls. So I wrote a horror story set in the Philharmonic, a place where hidden rooms and forgotten corridors are still being discovered, where the walls have witnessed centuries of secrets and stories. As a side note, the script turned out to be a little too expensive for the client to produce. So instead, we ended up making a time travel film called The Loop in a film studio. But that's a story for another day. Today though, I have something different for that. Think of it as a Reddit-style horror story. I wouldn't call myself much of a writer, but let's pretend we're sitting by a fireplace on a warm summer night and I'm about to tell you a story. So get comfortable and let's begin. Act 1. She sits with her back turned. The glow of a smartphone lit up his tired face. The light was harsh and he instinctively squinted. The message was already open. You're doing it again, pretending like nothing is happening. You twist everything as if it's my fault, and I keep catching myself apologizing first. He unlocked his phone and started typing a reply, but his attention was drawn to what was happening on stage. The musicians were getting up from their chairs, putting their instruments into their cases. Someone laughed quietly, someone said goodbye. The conductor raised his hand, a short, familiar gesture. He dimmed the main lights, leaving only the sidewalk lamps on. The hall slowly sank into half darkness. His fingers moved across the screen. I'm not avoiding the conversation. It's just not the right time. I'm at work. Let's talk at home, calmly, without all of this. Then I don't see the point in you coming home. I need to understand if we even have this home you want to come back to. Because right now I feel alone, even when you're next to me. He read the message once, then again. He started typing. You're making this more complicated than it is. After a few seconds, he deleted it. I'm having a hard time right now, but that doesn't mean I don't care. He erased it too. The screen went dark. You can head home. Tomorrow we will start earlier, the conductor said, walking up to him. I will stay a bit longer. I want to check the lighting for the concert. I need you focused tomorrow. After the final rehearsal, there won't be much time to rest. No problem, not my first time. They shook hands. The silence returned almost immediately, as if it had been waiting. He opened his laptop and began checking the equipment one by one. His thoughts were restless. He kept catching himself going back to a conversation that hadn't actually happened. He needed to focus on work. Pressing another button, he realized the balcony spotlights weren't responding. Old junk, he thought. Looks like I will have to run the soloists mainly again. His already uneasy mind filled with more thoughts. This time things might not work out, but he didn't feel guilty, more tired and irritated than everything else. We rarely understand that we're wrong. while there is still time to say something. He drifted into his thoughts again, then quickly caught himself. That kind of thinking wouldn't lead anywhere good. He needed to go upstairs and check the equipment. But first, a soda and a cigarette. Act 2. She's afraid of the light. The Philharmonic building was old. Once majestic, it had been slowly deteriorating year after year. During reconstruction work, hidden passages, tunnels, and forgotten rooms were sometimes discovered. Interest would spark for a while, but it always faded quickly. Funding ran out long before curiosity did. The paint had long since lost its shine. Plaster peeled from the walls in pale flakes, and every floorboard seemed to carry a memory of the footsteps that had crossed it. And still the building continued to live. It welcomed audiences and held sound. The buffet was closed. At this hour, it was normal to take a drink and leave the money for the morning cashier. He opened a can and took a long sip. Damn, my cigarettes are still in the hall. He didn't hurry back. The whole night was ahead of him. Then he heard something fall. The sound was sharp, cutting through the silence. He froze and listened. At first glance, everything in the hall seemed to be in place. The chairs stood in semicircle, the equipment hung where it should. The space was too large to immediately understand what had changed. He exhaled and decided to start with the main spotlights. The way to the upper balconies led through an old staircase with a mosaic window. During the day, sunlight passed through it, but now only a faint moonlight lit the marble steps. He had always liked this place. It felt both mysterious and slightly unsettling. He crossed the rows of seats and reached the equipment. The problem revealed itself almost immediately. The plug wasn't connected. He bent down, feeling for the socket. At that moment, the sound came again, this time clearly from the stage. He froze. He understood that whatever was happening, it wouldn't be something he could check quickly. He switched on the spotlight and slowly moved the beam across the rows toward the stage. When the light reached it, he stopped. The chairs were scattered, even though just minutes ago they had been arranged in a precise order. In the middle of the stage sat a woman in a white dress, her back turned to the hall, completely still. There was something about her posture that felt wrong. All the thoughts that had been waiting on him disappeared instantly. His mind tried to find an explanation, but nothing made sense. He wanted to call out to her, but the words wouldn't come. It felt like if they got stuck in his throat. The stairs down felt longer than usual. The large wooden doors stood in front of him, and for a moment he didn't open them. Something inside him held him back. Only a few seconds passed, though it felt longer. He opened the door. The hall was empty. The chairs stood exactly as before. His thoughts stumbled over each other, but doing nothing didn't feel like an option. He quickly moved toward the buffet. What was that? The chairs? Who was she? Was it some kind of joke? He stopped in the furthest corner. The exit was about 20 yards away. The building was empty. No one else was there. Was it just exhaustion? That didn't make sense. He had been watching long enough to be sure, or had it only lasted a second? His mind refused to accept what had happened. What now? Should he just leave and go outside? And then what? Go back to her? What would he even say? All his things were still in the hall. He needed to go back and check. Leaving now would mean admitting fear. He took a breath and forced himself to move. The hall was empty again. Everything stood in place. The only real proof that something had happened was the slight trembling in his legs. He stepped onto the stage. His footsteps echoed through the hall. When you're trying to hear every small sound, your own breathing starts to sound overwhelming. He went behind the curtains. Nothing. Instruments, props, costumes. Everything looked ordinary. He moved deeper, slowly and uncertainly, scanning every corner, every place where someone could be hiding. Nothing. He began moving back toward the hall, trying to step carefully, almost following the same path, when he noticed the dress. White, almost like a wedding dress. The woman on the stage had looked like a bride. A cold feeling ran through him. He stepped closer. The dress hung among other costumes. Maybe his mind has simply put everything together. The argument, the possibility of a breakup, the image of a bride, the feeling of guilt. He reached out and touched the fabric. It was cold. The dress looked old, just like the building. That had to be it, he thought. An old building, old costumes, nothing more. He returned to his workstation and started gathering his things, but glanced at the stage again. He sat down, opened his laptop and typed "Philharmonic, Bright, Legend." Page after page appeared, most of them little more than local folklore and tourist stories. Then one article caught his attention. There were dozens of versions of the tale. Some claimed she had been an actress. Others said she was a singer. The details changed depending on who was telling the story, but every version agreed on one thing. A young woman had died in a hole shortly before her wedding. Nobody could agree on what happened next. He closed the laptop. Just another story for tourists, he told himself. The spotlight was still shining at the center of the stage. He stood up to turn it off and went upstairs. Moonlight filtered through the mosaic window. Clouds moved quickly. The night was warm and quiet. His thoughts settled for a moment, and then the argument came back, like something unfinished. When he reached the top, he froze. She was there again, in the same position, crying. He stepped back. The sound was uneven, broken, as if it lacked breath. His heart started beating faster. His palms were numb. His knees felt weak. He didn't believe in ghosts or in anything like that. And yet something inside him, something distant but familiar, told him that he needed to help her. As he went down the stairs, he caught himself thinking, what if she disappeared again? Could this somehow be connected to his own situation? He pushed the thought away and kept moving. She didn't disappear. Something inside him led him toward the stage. "Excuse me, are you okay?" he said, coming closer. There was no answer. That made him uneasy. He stepped onto the stage. The light was now behind him, making it difficult to see her face. She sat there, crying, her head lowered. With each step closer, the air felt colder. He crouched beside her and slowly reached out his hand. The crying became silent, and suddenly he understood. He had heard that kind of crying before. It happens when words no longer matter, when no answer is expected anymore. "Are you?" She slowly raised her face. It was mutilated. He recoiled and lost his balance. She began to stand. He didn't think. He ran. He ran off the stage, into the corridor, down the stairs. The silence around him felt heavy. What was that? He forced himself to turn again. She was already closer. She wasn't running. She was just simply there, nearer than before. His body moved on its own toward the exit. The buffet, the last 20 yards. He turned again, closer, the door. He grabbed the handle and pulled. It didn't move. "Come on!" He pulled again. Nothing. Damn it! He turned one last time, ready to face whatever was coming. The door stopped moving completely. Act 3. She cries without a sound. Morning. "Why is the spotlight still on?" the conductor muttered as he walked through the hall. He stepped onto the stage. The man was sitting among scattered chairs in the same unnatural position. "Decided to perform instead of us? Hey, are you alright?" He touched his shoulder. The body fell onto its back. The face was mutilated. The eyes stared upward, empty. A phone slipped from his hand. The screen lit up. "Where are you? Why aren't you home? Please pick up. Don't be mad, we'll figure it out. I'm calling the police. Please, don't scare me." It was already too late. So I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, let me know what you thought in the comments. I would love to hear your theories and opinions. And if you would like to see more stories like this, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for spending part of your evening with me, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.